Imagine spending $500,000 on a house that looks strong from the outside, but is built mostly from wood. To millions of people around the world, American homes seem strangely fragile. The walls sound hollow. The structure is made mostly of wood. And in a fire, the entire house can disappear within minutes. So why would the richest country on earth build millions of homes this way? Was it simply to save money? Not exactly. Because this story isn't really about wood. It's about a country built so fast that it changed the way people thought a home should be built forever. A story of endless forests, mass production, war, suburbia, and the American dream. Take a flight over almost any American city. From above, you'll see neighborhood after neighborhood filled with houses that look remarkably similar. Behind the drywall, behind the paint, behind the brick decoration is a wooden skeleton. Today, the vast majority of new single-family homes in the United States are built using wood framing. In much of Europe, homes are built from brick, stone, or concrete. Many apartment buildings across Asia use reinforced concrete as well. Those materials are often associated with strength, permanence, and durability. So why did America choose something completely different? The answer wasn't made in an architect's office. It was made hundreds of years ago when the first European settlers stepped onto an unfamiliar continent. A continent covered by forests, as far as the eye could see. And in that moment, without realizing it, they made a decision that would shape American neighborhoods for the next 3 centuries. To understand why American homes are made of wood, you have to forget modern America for a moment. Forget highways, forget skyscrapers. Instead, imagine arriving here over 400 years ago. No roads, no cities, only an endless wilderness. When the first English settlers landed along the Atlantic coast in the early 1600s, they weren't looking at neighborhoods. They were looking at one of the largest forests on Earth. Towering oak, white pine, maple, cedar, trees stretched for hundreds of miles in every direction. Back home, the situation couldn't have been more different. Europe had spent centuries cutting down its forests. Wood-heated homes, built ships, and powered growing cities. By the time many settlers crossed the Atlantic, good timber had become increasingly valuable. That scarcity changed the way Europeans built. Instead of relying on wood, they turned to brick, stone, and masonry. Those materials required more labor, but they lasted for generations. In many European cities, houses built hundreds of years ago are still standing today. America offered the exact opposite. Wood wasn't precious. It was everywhere. And when winter was only months away, people didn't have the luxury of debating architecture. They needed shelter. Immediately. Making bricks required kilns, fuel, skilled workers, time. Quarrying stone required enormous effort. But cutting down a tree, that could be done with an axe, a few determined hands, and a little urgency. So the very first American homes weren't designed around style. They were designed around survival. Log cabins, Simple wooden shelters. Anything that could keep a family alive through the winter. What began as a temporary solution slowly became a tradition. Parents taught children, builders taught apprentices, and generation after generation, wood became the normal way to build. But something even bigger was about to happen. A new invention, combined with America's exploding railroad network, would transform wooden houses from a practical choice into the engine of one of the fastest building booms in human history. And once that happened, there was no turning back. By the early 1800s, wood had already become America's favorite building material. But building a house was still slow and expensive. Traditional timber framing required enormous wooden beams. Each joint had to be carefully carved by hand. It was skilled craftsmanship, not something an ordinary person could easily do. A single house could take months to complete. Then, everything changed. Not because someone invented a better house, but because someone invented a simpler way to put one together. Around the 1830s, builders in Chicago began experimenting with something revolutionary. Instead of using a few massive beams, they used dozens of thin pieces of lumber. Lightweight, standardized, inexpensive. Rather than carefully carving wooden joints, they simply nailed the pieces together. This new method became known as balloon framing. At first, many experienced carpenters laughed at the idea. Some even called it dangerous. How could a house held together by hundreds of small nails possibly survive? But the critics were wrong. The invention arrived at exactly the right moment. America wasn't standing still. It was racing west. Every year, thousands of families packed everything they owned and headed toward new land. They needed towns, schools, stores, and homes. Lots of homes, fast. Balloon framing made that possible. A house that once demanded master craftsmen could now be built by ordinary workers, using standardized lumber, basic tools, and a simple blueprint. But there was another invention just as important: the railroad. As railroad tracks spread across the continent, they connected forests, sawmills, and growing frontier towns. Freshly cut lumber could now travel hundreds of miles, quickly and cheaply. Entire neighborhoods no longer depended on local forests. The materials came to them. By the late 19th century, America wasn't just building houses, it was mass-producing them. Chicago became one of the fastest-growing cities in the world. Most history books celebrate the railroad or the pioneers, but hidden behind nearly every new town stood the same simple invention: thin boards, cheap nails, and a construction method that forever changed how America built itself. If wood was simply cheaper, why didn't America eventually switch to stronger materials? Once it became rich? The answer comes down to something every family understands: money, time, and the economics of building a home. By this point, you might be thinking, that made sense 300 years ago. But why are Americans still building wooden houses today? The United States is one of the richest nations on Earth. Surely it could afford to build with concrete or brick. So why doesn't it? The answer begins with a simple reality. Building a house isn't just about strength. It's about cost. Every extra dollar spent on construction becomes a higher mortgage or a home someone can no longer afford. For most American families, price matters just as much as durability. And wood still wins that battle. America remains one of the world's largest producers of lumber. Vast forests in the Pacific Northwest, the Southeast, and parts of Canada supply an enormous, well-established construction industry. That keeps prices relatively low. But material cost is only half the story. The real advantage is time. Imagine building two identical houses. One uses reinforced concrete. The other uses wood framing. The concrete structure demands forms, steel reinforcement, pouring, and curing. Work often pauses while the concrete gains strength. Wood doesn't wait. A framing crew can arrive with pre-cut lumber. And within days, an entire house begins to take shape. Walls, floors, roof, almost overnight. For developers building hundreds of homes, saving even a single week per house can mean millions of dollars. And there's another advantage most people never think about. What happens after the house is finished? Families grow, rooms get remodeled, bathrooms added, kitchens renovated. Running new plumbing, wiring, or internet cable through wood-framed walls is usually straightforward. Doing the same inside reinforced concrete is slower, more expensive, and far more disruptive. American homes weren't designed to remain exactly the same forever. They were designed to evolve along with the families living inside them. So yes, wood burns. It can rot. It requires maintenance. But for millions of homeowners, its speed, flexibility, and affordability still outweigh those disadvantages. For over 3 centuries, wood has continued winning. Not because it's perfect, but because, for America, it has consistently been the most practical choice. Yet there was one moment in history when America needed not thousands, but millions of new homes. And wood was the only material capable of meeting that demand. By the end of World War II, America faced a problem unlike anything it had seen before. Millions of young soldiers were coming home. They wanted a stable job, a family, and a place to call home. But there weren't nearly enough houses. Cities were overcrowded, apartments were full, and many families had nowhere to go. The country needed homes. Not thousands, millions, fast. The federal government helped veterans buy homes through low-interest loans. Demand exploded almost overnight. One man believed he had the answer. His name was William Levitt. Instead of treating each house like a unique project, he borrowed an idea from Henry Ford. The assembly line. Ford had transformed the automobile by breaking production into small, repeatable steps. Levitt wondered, what if you built houses the same way? One crew poured foundations, another framed the walls, another installed windows, another worked only on roofs. Every worker became incredibly efficient because they repeated the same job every single day. The results were astonishing. Rows of nearly identical homes stretched across what had once been empty farmland. The most famous of these communities was Levittown, New York. To some, the houses looked repetitive, too ordinary, but to the families moving in, it was the first home they had ever owned. A front yard, a backyard, a place where children could ride bicycles on quiet streets. The white picket fence, the family barbecue, neighbors waving across the driveway. These weren't just cultural symbols. They were made possible because homes could be built quickly and affordably enough for ordinary people. Wood framing became more than a construction method. It became the foundation of suburbia, the foundation of the middle class, and in many ways, the physical expression of the American dream itself. But if wood helped build that dream, it also came with a serious weakness. America is a country of earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and increasingly catastrophic wildfires. So why continue building with a material that seems so vulnerable? The answer is more surprising than most people realize. If you've made it this far, you probably still have one question. Even if wood is cheaper, isn't it dangerous? It's a fair question. Wood burns, it can decay, and every summer, television screens fill with images of wildfires, consuming entire neighborhoods across the American West. At first glance, wood seems like the worst possible material. But buildings don't face just one kind of disaster. They face many. Let's start with earthquakes. If you had to choose which would survive a violent earthquake better, a heavy concrete building or a lightweight wooden house? Most people instinctively choose concrete, but engineers often don't. During an earthquake, the greatest danger isn't just the shaking. It's the enormous force created by weight. Concrete is incredibly strong under compression, but it is also heavy and relatively rigid. When the ground moves violently, that rigidity can become a weakness. Wood behaves differently. It bends. It flexes. Instead of fighting the movement, it moves with it. Think about bending a thick tree branch. It sways, then returns to its original shape. A dry concrete block simply cracks. That's one reason wood frame construction became so common in earthquake-prone places like California. Modern building codes also require metal connectors, shear walls, and reinforced foundations, making today's wood homes far stronger than many people imagine. Wildfires present the opposite challenge. Wood cannot compete with concrete when exposed to direct flames. Entire communities have been devastated by fires fueled by drought, strong winds, and rising temperatures. These tragedies have forced engineers and lawmakers to rethink how homes should be built. Today's houses often include fire-resistant roofing, special exterior materials, tempered glass windows, and thicker fire-rated walls. In high-risk areas, building codes have become dramatically stricter than a generation ago. The goal is no longer to rely on one perfect material. It's to combine smarter design, better engineering, and stronger safety standards. Because the truth is, no house is completely disaster-proof. Concrete can crack. Steel can weaken in extreme heat. Brick can collapse. Every material has strengths. Every material has limits. The real question has never been, which material is perfect? It's, which material makes the most sense for this place, at this moment in history? For more than 300 years, America's answer has been wood. But that answer may not stay the same forever. For more than 3 centuries, wood has been the default choice for American homes. Cheap, fast, and matched to a country that never stopped growing. But new pressures are changing the equation. Climate change, rising construction costs, a shortage of skilled labor. One of the biggest shifts is happening with engineered wood. Not the timber of the frontier, but layers of wood pressed together with modern technology. Products like cross-laminated timber are already strong enough to build mid-rise towers. Instead of an old-fashioned material, engineers are redesigning wood for the modern era. Construction itself is changing too. More builders are moving toward factory-built housing. Walls assembled indoors, measured with precision, then shipped and connected on site. Faster, less waste, more consistent quality. The shape of the American home may keep changing. Smaller, more efficient, built differently than the post-war suburbs. But the reason behind the choice hasn't changed at all. Because in America, a home was never just about the material that built the walls. It was about the life built inside them, and a place to call home. Enjoyed the journey? Subscribe for more stories about America's history, culture, business, and the hidden reasons that shaped the nation. Every place has a story.